Oh man, dude, guys, I am sorry. I'm behind. I apologize. I have been waiting all day to do the show and I come in late, which is not a good thing, man. Not a good thing. So first of all, I apologize. I did you
I
guys
have
wrong.
been
So
waiting.
okay, sorry. Just double checking to make sure I am good on the YouTube side. In case you don't know, I just watch on StreamYard, so I have no idea what's going on YouTube. I apologize for being late. James is in the house. Um, if you haven't heard, AKA PC Principal, Dan Campbell did get the job in Detroit, and James has a lot of mixed feelings. I didn't see it, by the way. James Wills, I'm a Dolphins fan. I'll tell you, he left me with great impressions that season. He took over, felt done until he revived it with some juice to the squad. I agree because they went ahead and played really hard. If nothing else about Dan Campbell, players play hard for him. I really like the move that Detroit did, and also like Aaron Glenn. You're going to see a New Orleans Saints style team, a multifaceted team, and this is. Let me sip the coffee. This is a little different because Salah, is going to run that wide 9, cover 3, Tampa 2 tight defense, whatever you want to call it. So you know instantly what they're going to do, and you also know how to attack that. In Detroit, you're going to have something completely different. You're just going to have a pumped-up team that you know is going to play hard. But when you sign a coach to a 6-year contract, you usually – let's take a look at some teams that have signed coaches to a long-term contract. You got man, not only do I show up late, I'm forgetting names already. You have Mike Rule in Carolina and the guy in Miami, and I'm drawing a complete blank, and I'll get it. I'll think of it here in a second. But we'll look at what they did to their roster. Look at Carolina, Cam Newton gone. I know Luke Kuechly, of course, retired. But basically they just moved a ton of players in and out. And in Miami, they just atom bombed that whole team. So it's safe to say that when you give a guy a 6-year contract, I really think that you're going to see a lot of movement. And this is exciting for me who doesn't have a dog in the fight because you're going to see a lot of trades going on in Detroit. You're going to see a lot of movement. So James says it was good, but slightly creepy. I get being pumped out by getting a head coaching job, but I don't know he took the time to give good answers. What do you mean creepy? Have you seen Salah's? I didn't see either one of them, guys. I didn't see either one, so that's kind of my bad. I guess my fear is he set the bar so high, so hyped everybody so hard. Now Dan has to deliver; he can't fail. I warn you, because he does have a very long contract. If you look at Miami, because they were about 7-9, 9-7, 7-9 team, then they went to 5-11, and everybody's saying tank for Tua when they went 0-9. I'm sorry, 0-7. Expect time. So that's something you got to worry about. I wouldn't go into 2021 with high expectations. I wouldn't go on. Look at what Carolina did. They did a whole draft on defense. They signed a veteran quarterback to a 3-year deal. That's kind of the blueprint that I'm looking at. If I'm a Detroit Lions fan, I'm looking at 2022, and I'm expecting 2021 to be bad. That's my opinion. Lions couldn't find anybody from GM to Aaron Glenn that had experience. It would be incredible. I think it will, just not right away. I love the Nika. I keep hearing about that. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I will watch it. Campbell sounded like a high school jock. Well, I mean, he was an NFL tight end. And I think that what I like about Campbell going to Detroit is that it's the polar opposite of Patricia. Patricia was literally a rocket scientist. Like he had a job with NASA. It was apparently, here's what I was told. I'm gonna get some coffee. I was told if you ever heard him talk about football, you're like, this guy's going to be a great head coach. The problem wasn't his intelligence. It was a problem with how he related to players. So now you're getting a guy, hey, look, we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to get a guy who can relate to players. The X's and O's is secondary. Now, Aaron Glenn's young, but I think it was either in New York or Philly. Aaron Glenn was actually getting a head coach interview. For those of you who don't remember Aaron Glenn, you can look up, because I remember him playing corner at Texas A&M. I'm showing my age here. You could YouTube or Google Dan Marino fake spike, and the guy he did the fake spike on was Aaron Glenn. So I don't know who the offensive coordinator is in, and that's another thing. I think next show what I'm going to do is break down all the coaching changes and kind of give an early evaluation on my 32 plus and minus. What I do is I break down every team after the year's over. I just simple plus or minus. It doesn't, and then no change. I just leave equal, but that's kind of the direction that I go in after the season's over. I don't know who is going to take over as offensive coordinator in Detroit. Yeah, they did. I remember that. And then Gruden, now he's also like a 3% owner or something like that. Please watch Dan. I will check it out because I've heard so much about it. A matter of fact, Denver Gator, who hopefully will join the show later, he sent me a YouTube video of a guy making fun of it, doing kind of a mock of it. It's pretty damn funny. James, I'll send it to you. Remind me. So yeah. Brian Flores, I'm sorry. Yeah, Pete, thanks, brother. Yeah, I couldn't think of who it is. So, and look what he did. He atom bombed the team, and then this year they were one game away from making the playoffs. So again, I think they messed up with how they handled Tua. They should just sat him on the bench the whole year, go into 21 and say, hey, look, this is our guy. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I want to defend this. I don't know how serious of a consideration this is. Sometimes people go ahead and they bring in a guy that they just want to hear what he has to say, but they're not really interested in. It happens sometimes, but I don't know the extent of how serious that is. Now, keep in mind the last 5 years in the league, even though he did play the playoff game in Philly, he was basically a coach. So I don't think it's serious, but I'm trying to figure out why. James says, hold on here. I messed up here. Sup, bro? Yes. Yeah. And that's why you're going to, okay, take a look at what the Saints did offensively and defensively. On offense, you have a multifaceted defense or offense. When Drew Brees was at his best, well, you throw the ball 50, 60 times a game. When Brees wasn't a quarterback, you're a run-heavy team. But you had a lot of emphasis on the offensive and defensive lines. And you're going to see the same thing. But, yeah, you're going back to I'm going to quote a 4-3 because even though there's 3-4, 4-3 thrown around, you're basically going to see a team with a dominant defensive line. And that's the goal. That's what the Saints do. They have a dominant 4-man defensive line, then some really good linebackers. What Patricia wanted to do was have a very confusing front seven that emphasized size and power more than speed, which is the old school style of football. And it's something, being an old school guy, I really liked. But the offense was bad. He didn't have the right players. And I don't think he really communicated well enough. But, yeah, you're going to see a more simplified 4-3 type of defense. So, yeah. Wow, Dan, that would be I may not go into. I'm going to try to do general managers, but I do want to break down the coaching staff. I don't have everybody down yet. Now, keep in mind, if we do that Friday, Eric Bieniemy, who's a candidate, ideally the Chiefs win because I'm a Chiefs fan. By the way, Mike hasn't joined the show. At least I haven't seen him yet. But your boy Mike's been saying Bucks and Bills Super Bowl since September. Got to give props out for that. He's been saying it consistently. This isn't like Bucks and Bills one week and then next week, Chiefs and Niners, and then next week Patriots and Eagles. No, he's been consistently saying Bucks and Bills, and both those teams have a chance. So that's just freaking awesome. So yeah. I want to see if players that played for Dan will follow him to Detroit. That's the mark of a good coach, except Patricia. No, you're right. The Saints, if I remember right, are something like $90 million over the cap, so you could see a lot of Saints players gravitate over to Detroit. You have to understand something. Anything's open in the draft. This year's draft is going to be crazy. What I think I'm going to do, because there's not going to be a combine this year, so I think about 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, I'm going to start with my first video, and I'm going to skip number one because Trevor Lawrence, not Tannehill. You know I was going to, sooner or later, I'm going to call him Tannehill again. I mean, let's face it, that's what I do. I'm not good with names. You know this. So I think I'm going to start with number two, and I'll just start with the Jets, and then I'll go number three with Miami. But I'm thinking I'm going to do that sooner than later. And then every Friday, we're still going to have a live stream every Friday after the Super Bowl. I'm going to do it Friday every single day, unless something changes my work schedule. That's also something that might be in the mix. I won't dive into, you guys won't hear about my personal life, but it's been a rough week. Bottom line, my schedule may change. If it does, I'll let you guys know. But my plans are, if nothing changes in my work schedule, we'll keep this Friday show from now till the start of the year, and then we'll go back to Wednesday and Friday, which I really like. We interviewed 4 people. An offensive coordinator. I still don't know who they're thinking of. I know Bevel went to Jacksonville, which I think is a brilliant move. But we'll find out what goes on. But I'm thinking Friday we'll go into the coaching details in a lot more depth. I do want to talk about the general managers, and I kind of want to talk about teams I'm expecting to do good and bad, improvements, and how things are looking bad. I'll tell you this right now. I'll probably put Detroit as a minus, because I'm really thinking that what's going to happen from here is I really think you're going to blow up this whole team. Ran out of walls here. If you're talking offensive coordinator, we'll have to wait. Alex, man, what's up, brother? How's it going, Dan? Texans are looking certain to hire Bieniemy, but are keeping our offensive coordinator, Tim Kelly. Cassio's trying to keep this boat afloat. Yeah, and by the way, man, I saw you on Twitter. Yes, don't listen to social media shit. Deshaun Watson's staying in Houston until a new head coach comes along. That's a fact. Don't buy into this. So I'm glad you saw that. Don't buy into it. You're going to hear a lot of it. Don't buy into it. He's staying put. Now, ideally, the Chiefs win Sunday, go to the Super Bowl, so you'll be without a head coach for another couple of weeks. So you'll be hearing about it everywhere, even during the Super Bowl. Where will Watson be next year? Don't worry about it. Because until the Texans have a head coach in place, Watson is 100% going to be there. And then afterwards, then we'll have some questions. So, but yeah. Belichick took Patricia back. I didn't know that. I was expecting that, but I didn't know that. So, and that's a good move for both parties. It really is. It really is. New England's a team that I think would be very dangerous next year, because they had, I think it was 6 defensive starters. I think it was 6. It was more than any other team set out for COVID. And I remember Dante Hightower, probably the best player in the NFL who sat out this year for COVID. He was a key element. He was a team captain who kind of ran that defense. So this is a situation where the Patriots could be really dangerous next year, but they do need some help. So, Angry Marie, Chad, Dude, I'm sorry. I saw that you called. I do show prep, and anyway, man, I'll call you after the show, man. Sorry about that, man. I'm glad you're in the house, Chad. I'm happy the Lions hired Danny, played tight end for the Lions, bring some love back to the city. He does. I think it's a great move. I think it's a great move. Yep, he can take the flowers. Seriously, I don't think it'll happen because they end up getting Josh Urche, the guy with the long hair, number 50, went to Michigan also. I'm drawing a blank on his name. They kind of replaced him already, but don't be surprised if the Lions end up moving Flowers, maybe not to Detroit, maybe somewhere else. Hope you get Trey Hendrickson. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on who that is. Chiefs win. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Mahomes has been cleared. Mahomes is going to play. There's one guy. He's not a gambler, but actually he's a excellent handicapper. It's not. I don't think you can put action on it, but just for fun, he put something. Henny over under 2 snaps for the game. I put under because I'm hoping that we don't see him, but it could. Bieniemy has sounded like a guy not taking any job out there. Texans' job is clearly one of the worst. Just because the Texans might want him doesn't mean the Texans are going to get him. No, you have a good point. I do think the Texans' job is better than most people. You have Watson, who's under contract, and there's a no trade clause. You also still have J.J. Watt there. Now that's the thing. I actually, right now today, I think Watt's more likely to be gone than Watson, but you're hearing just the opposite through social media. But bottom line, there's a lot of talent in Houston at all the right positions. You have a left tackle that you signed to a big deal, and he's a good. I don't think he's a great, but he's a really good left tackle. That's a key position. You have a good quarterback, and you have J.J. Watt and a lot of defensive talent that didn't come together last year. So I think that you reset that defense. Your offense is set. You just need a wide receiver or two. And you have to wait till the 3rd round. But if Watson's still there, there's going to be some free agent talent available that the Texans can pick up. So I don't think that it's as bad of a job as most people do. Yeah, they don't have to pick in the 1st and 2nd round. So what? They will in 2021. So of all the drafts, the missed picks, this might be the best one because there's not going to be a combine. You have to. I'm going to keep this short. I'm going to keep this rant short. There's an old TV show called Arliss. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. He was a sports agent. They used to have players come on. It was actually a great show, but they showed Arliss working at a pro day, and they put on the 45-pound weights, and there was foam rubber. And then they measured a 40-yard dash, and it was only at 36 yards. And it was all these things that, fool the scouts so this guy would have a great combine. And that's what I think about anytime I see pro day. And there's rumors that NFL personnel may not even be able to attend these pro days. So, I mean, you may be seeing some crazy stuff. You may be seeing 3.6 40-yard dashes. All that guy on the bench press did 94 reps. It's amazing. You may see some really crazy stuff. But this may be the perfect – bottom line, this is probably the perfect year to miss draft picks. You may just want to go ahead and build up your team through free agency. But, yeah. And we need to, James. And that's on me. I apologize. This week's just not been a good week. This has not been a good week for me. I apologize. We need to do one. I've been itching to do one. My thought process is up to 99. So, we can talk greatest show on turf. We could talk to Air Coryell offense. We can talk about the Dallas Cowboys. And okay, my neighbors are having a party upstairs. Okay, that's just par for the course. My neighbors suck. So yeah. So there's a lot of things that we can go through. 80s, like which team's the best, all sorts of stuff. So yeah. I truly hate how sports media has already counted on Watson's basically traded while demanding. No, I said this on, I think you saw it. I've been saying this. It's just media hype. Don't buy into it. It's just media hype. That's all it is. Music City guy, what is up? We ran out walls to run through in Detroit. You like Bevel to the Jags? I had doubts because of all the flack he got in Detroit. No, I actually do like it under Urban Meyer. They're going to be a run-heavy team. They're going to work with a young quarterback. I remember he was the coordinator in Seattle. Of course, he was the one who famously called the pass that was intercepted in the Super Bowl. But that's okay. You're going to have a very good running team in Jacksonville, and you have a good offensive line. There's a lot of things I really like in Jacksonville. Yep, right through a wall and right into the Detroit River. I got to see this presser. I apologize. I should have seen both of them before, but yeah. Watson coming to Miami. Nothing Watson can do till March 17th. He's definitely, I tell you right now, he's not going to Miami. I think he's going to stay in Houston, but I don't think we'll blow everything. We will probably keep Hawk, the 3 linemen, with. That might be it, man. That you're going to have a very limited roster, but keep in mind that's usually what people do when they have a big long contract. Most contracts are usually 3 to 4 years. This one's 6, so he can just kind of atom bomb the roster, and that's what you see. If you take a look at Miami and Carolina, take a look at John Gruden. Take a look at John Gruden specifically. That whole roster, except for David Carr, is almost gone. So, yes, awesome. You know what? I apologize. I said I was going to do that, and I haven't had a chance to look at any of the Michigan casinos because I've been living under a rock. Yeah, yes, I have been. This week's been a long week, man. This has been a very long week. So, yeah, I didn't have a chance to do a lot of things that I wanted to do. So, Alex is hating me. There's a reason I want the Chiefs to lose. Actually, multiple one. I want Bieniemy hired soon, too. You should be salty about last year. I wouldn't expect you not to be. And yeah, it would be good to get Bieniemy hired. Yeah. And Stafford for a year. That's the number one thing when you hire a guy like this for 6 years. It really has me wondering what the plans are for Stafford. You could go in 101 different places. It wouldn't surprise me. And you know what? In this year, in this draft, you could trade him for a first rounder. You could trade Matthew Stafford for a first rounder. You know what? I was trying to think about this, but I kept on going back. You know the best place to trade him to? And they would give you a first rounder, and you would hate it, but it would work, would be Chicago. Matthew Stafford would get a number 1 from the Bears. And it would work out. You'd have draft capital that you need to rebuild the team. The Bears have that good defense, even though Pagano retired. I have no idea who's replacing them. I don't think they've named one yet, but I've been under a rock, like you said. So that's another issue. But I was also thinking Indianapolis. The fact that I didn't even know who the Eagles offensive coordinator was, and he's now in Philly is mind-boggling. But you know, I'm going to go into more detail because I want to know. Matt Urban, it's Eberflus is the defensive coordinator. He was a candidate. The offensive coordinator wasn't. So I wonder if he's going to stay. And that's kind of interesting in itself. Mary sends her love for the Chiefs. I know she does. When if Stafford goes to New England, that would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun. However, I will say this. I could easily see the Bears giving up a first rounder to for Stafford, even though it's an in-division trade. I don't think New England's going to give up the 15th pick overall for Detroit. Would they give up a second? Absolutely. Absolutely. They could also go with Cam Newton. What New England does this offseason is going to be extremely interesting. But I think that if you were to trade Stafford, Chicago makes the most sense. And Chicago would give you a number one. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Chase Winovich, that's it. Matt Jones to New England. I've seen that. I keep seeing Kyle Pitts, the Florida, I'm going to do air quotes, tight end, going to New England at 15, which I can tell you for a fact won't happen because New England always kind of pulls a curveball in the draft. Mac Jones is interesting because I think it would work. I worry about the arm strength, but apparently his intelligence and his intangibles is off the charts. That is a possibility. But if that happens, I don't think it'll be at 15. I think they'll trade back. And because Mac Jones, I think that when everything's said and done, I don't think he goes before 20 if he does go. But yeah, he could absolutely go to New England. That's true, Stevie. And I have no idea what to come. I got behind. I'm way behind, so my apology. Bob was hired as the Alabama's offensive coordinator. I'm really surprised that I thought it was you who told me that he's not going back to college. That's actually a good move for him. I think Bill O'Brien could actually do a good job in college. So. Absolutely. Campbell says he wants to expose teams' weaknesses, and I'm like, I'm here for that. I think you guys are really going to like Campbell. Just be patient with him. I think year one's going to be tough. If Eric Bieniemy takes that job, he better get 6 years and a lot of guaranteed money. The whole organization's dysfunctional. Teams giving a first-year coach 7 or 6 years is exceptionally rare. That's why I'm kind of like, man, I don't know if you really want to go there. It's very unusual, but they hired somebody out of the Rams organization as GM, and so they're going to go in a different type of direction, just like the Rams did. It could be really bad, but so far I really like it. I'm really excited for the Lions. Stevie, I got a lot of love from Detroit, so and you've been paying attention, you've been seeing here, so I'm cheering for him. So Saban just needs to hire Variable and Wright. Then he would have. Saban, I keep thinking he wants to come back to the pros, but I guess not. But the dude's 62 or 63. It turned out years and years ago, I remember that they were trying to work it out with a booster. Apparently, it's not an NCAA violation. Some Alabama boosters paid off his house. So it's like a $4 million house, like $2 million left. They paid off for it. Apparently, you can do that, even though it's not a quote unquote payment to a coach. So I'm thinking that Saban sooner or later is going to retire. That's kind of my thought process. Maybe Bill O'Brien's thinking the same thing. Maybe Bill O'Brien just wants to go there. Now, keep in mind, you can go from the SEC to the NFL. That's not impossible. You could also go take a. Yeah, my neighbors suck. I absolutely hate them. They need to. Yeah, you're not the only person who thinks that. Let's go. What's up, peeps? Hey, man. Denver Gator, welcome, man. I'm behind in the comments, but man, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for sharing that video. I need to share it with James and a few other Lions fans. It was pretty damn funny. So what's dysfunctional is Esterby. He is utter trash and doesn't help at all. Cassio's trying his damnedest to try to keep things together. I believe he's doing a fine job. I've changed attitude. It's good to change attitude. Just wait till they get a head coach and then things will kind of get together. Cordell Stewart, Antoine Randall L. I'm behind on the comments here. So, yeah, I haven't heard those in a while either. Did you see the Bears trade scenario for Watson on YouTube? No, but I saw one where you trade him to the Jets for a third, and the Jets trade Darnold and a seventh. That's a dumb one. I saw another one where they trade. The one that made the most sense was the third overall, number one next year, and Tua for Watson. That actually made the most sense. I've seen some crazy ones. No, I've not seen the one for the Bears yet, but I've seen something crazy with the Saints. They're going to trade not Breeze, the FSU kid, Jameis Winston. He's not even under contract. I'm like, come on. I think more Dan Campbell's a former tight ends coach, so more than likely that's a position that they're absolutely going to keep. That when I say they're going to Adam bomb the whole roster, I think Hawkinson and Swift and Onokuda are safe, but that's it. Everybody else is fair game. Hey, Alex, what'd you think of the guy's press conference tweet? Just brilliant. I'm gonna have to watch these. I should have. Anthony Carter, Chris Carter, Rocket Ishmael of the Vikings are probably one of the best 80s era wide receiver units. I had no idea Rocket Ishmael played on the Vikings. Quadri Ishmael's brother was on the Ravens. Anthony Carter, if you've never heard of Anthony Carter before, I remember it was the 86 playoff game. The Vikings beat San Francisco. That team in 86 was possibly the best of all the 49ers teams. And I remember they played against Minnesota, who I think was 8-8 or 9-7, maybe even 7-9. Somebody got the information. I filled it in. Anyway, Anthony Carter set it was like a playoff record. It was like 11 catches, 229 yards, and a couple touchdowns. I may be wrong on the numbers, but set all sorts of records. He was like, it's funny because he was a little dude, but he was like jumping up in between. It was crazy. One of the best. Anthony Carter. One of the best players. He didn't play a long time, but if you got to watch him play, oh, God, he was good. Wentz to Indy. Okay. The rumor is the reason why the Eagles signed the offensive coordinator from Indianapolis was specifically because of Wentz. That's a rumor mill, but actually Wentz to Indy makes a ton of sense. But that's kind of the reason why a no name, by coaching standards is going over to Philly. At least that's the way I understand it. Stafford would love to see Patricia reunite New England. That would be kind of interesting, to tell you the truth. I said Stafford in New England because Patricia went back and to New England. Okay, all right. Yeah, that would be a soul move. I think Stafford. I hope he does. If I'm a Lions fan, so if Watson is traded, and that's a big if. Base 3 first rounders, 3 second, and 2/3, and that's to start a conversation about trading him. That's Alex. I can argue both ways, but you're ultimately you're right. I mean, you don't give up a franchise quarterback who's 25 for anything less. But keep in mind he's going to stay for a while, so don't worry about it. Denver Gator, we've been talking about it a lot. I apologize, guys. I'm behind here, and for Alex, 3 first-round picks if either Howard or Tua is going to Houston. That's the one that made the most sense. Was Tua, the 3rd pick overall in the draft, and a number 1 next year for Watson. That made the most sense. That made the most sense. And if I'm Houston, I still don't do it. Or could get both Alex, Howard, and Tua plus 3 first round. I don't know. That would be pretty good. Now, keep in mind, you still get a number 1 No, the extra number one's over this year. So no, I haven't had a chance. I need to watch it, man. I need to watch it. Hey, Alex, any wheels behind McCown for head coaches, Houston? We talked about this right before you joined. I don't think it's real. When I say, okay, sometimes you get a coach or you get somebody who comes in as a candidate because you want to hear what he has to say, but it's not a serious candidate. That's kind of what I think it is. That's kind of what I think it is. The first part of Dan Campbell Presser is just Tom Wood answering questions for Sheila. Really? I gotta watch this, man. See this. I am gonna. I thought he was 62, man. So people are saying we are a racist franchise because we didn't hire Bieniemy. Brad Holmes is black and Glenn is black, but they are trashing Campbell. I had no idea you guys are a racist franchise. That's kind of news to me, man. I would have thought if anybody would be a racist franchise, it would be Green Bay. They have more white people on their team than any NFL team ever. It's the only team that has like a large amount of white NFL players. So I'm surprised to hear that. So that's kind of new to me. Yeah, that is pretty good. Man, that's good. Here, Isaac, welcome, man. Welcome. You know what? I'm next week. I'm gonna have all the coaches. Because I am drawing a blank on who the Chargers got. Oh yeah, you got you got the I can't forget. You guys got the Rams defensive coordinator, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. And I was going to ask you how you felt about that. Of all the head coaches hired, this one to me was one I was like, ugh. I wasn't. How do you feel? The defense that the Rams had was the NFL's best. That's a good thing. The system's a little different than the one that you've run in the past, but ultimately it's not anything that you have to do a great change on. So that's a good thing. But when I'm looking at this guy's only been a coordinator for 1 year, man. Are you happy about it? I don't know who your offensive coordinator is, and that's key. You better get somebody very experienced on offense. So I would love to hear about it. I'm a little behind on the comments, but of all the head coaching hires, that one was one I was like, man, he's been a coordinator. No offense. It sounded a lot like Freddie Kitchens when he took over at Cleveland. It sounded a lot like Kitchens going to Cleveland, which was a disaster. That was one hire I was really like, I don't know. I'd love to hear what you think. All right, I'm behind, guys. I don't want them Gator. There's a clear guy they better get him. And he's referring to McCown. I want to defend it, but I want to defend McCown interviewing, but all I'm saying is that sometimes you interview somebody and you're not. Yeah, and Pete, you're 100% correct. 100% correct. Yeah. Good one Pride. Missed you guys last week. Holy shit, man. Oh, dude. I'm glad you're okay, man. I'm glad you're okay. I'm sorry you had an infection. That sucks. That really sucks, man. Are you better now? That's the main thing. What about Reg Deck and Jonah? Are you talking Raglan? I'm sorry, one Pride, man. All right, hold on here. Hey, Lions fans in the chat, get Dan to share to Brandon. Yeah, this is by the way, this is really awesome. I'm gonna send this out as soon as I get off. I should put the link below. I didn't do it, but yeah. I can answer this. He's a big Chiefs fan, so Andre Johnson is going. I would love that. I would love Andre. Dude, I forgot how good Andre Johnson was. So, yeah, it's I'm sad to hear that, man. Hearing that McCown as a quarterbacks coach, I wouldn't be. As a head coach, he must. I don't remember in any time in modern NFL history of a guy just going from player to coach. I don't remember that. So I know it happens in the NBA. I remember Jason Kidd. He like retired and like 3 days later was a NBA head coach. I don't know of an NFL. This happens to assistant coaches all the time. Matter of fact, Mike Vrabel, I remember. Well, it was funny. He was with the Chiefs, and he retired and took a job at Ohio State. I think he was there for like 2 years, and he went to the Houston Texans. And that was featured on Hard Knocks. And I remember on Hard Knocks they were saying, "Hey, this guy's going to be an NFL head coach someday." Like this guy. Usually, there'll be a former player, and within like a year or two, you'll hear, "Hey, this guy's going to be a head coach someday." It's kind of funny because I remember Mike Singletary wasn't that, but a lot of people really liked him. You can debate how good of a coach he was. He was entertaining. I liked Mike Singletary as a coach. I mean, one of the greatest linebackers of all time. Easy, but as a Chiefs fan, it's kind of funny because the Chiefs Raiders supposedly have the rival, but my number one rival is Denver. But there's nothing but love and respect. Pat Bowlen, one of the all-time great owners. I hate John Elway with the most sports hatred of anybody on planet Earth. I was born in Baltimore, and I lived in Baltimore when John Elway was drafted by the Baltimore Colts. And in Elway's rookie year, he played the Colts. Colts had 20-0 lead going into the fourth quarter, and you know what happened. Elway won the game. I blamed Elway for the Colts leaving Baltimore, and a lot of people from Baltimore did. So I'm like 9 years old, and we're moving like about 2 or 3 weeks later, after the Colts moved away from Baltimore, we moved to Kansas City. I found out like 3 years ago, one of the reasons why my dad chose Kansas City was because Kansas City had a football team. So anyway, I'm 9 years old, and I'm coming to Kansas City, and the first thing I'm thinking is, hey, at least I don't have to deal with John Elway anymore. And yeah. But yeah, sports hatred. Like if I ever met the guy in person, I'd be like, "Oh my God, you're John Elway." But like sports hatred, John Elway more than. So the Broncos are my number one rival. Like I always want to stick it to Denver, but everything about the organization's first class. Everything. Pat Bowlen, Shanahan was a great coach. Gary Kubiak was a good coach. I liked Wade Phillips. I liked Wade Phillips when he was there. Had nothing but that defense that won a Super Bowl. Von Miller, he would look great in a Chiefs uniform. Matter of fact, he chose 58 after Derek Thomas. So, but yeah. All right, my rant's over. Nothing to be said. No. Denver's had some really good years. Denver's had some really class. It's a good franchise to be a fan of. As a matter of fact, the last time Denver played at Arrowhead, I sat next to a couple Denver fans from Colorado. Super awesome. Denver fans are really cool. Got a lot of love for Denver Broncos fans. If they hire McCown before anybody, especially Eric Bieniemy, it would be. I'm really thinking that it's more of a they just want to hear what he has to say. So. I think the right word is I'm confident about it. We didn't let the guy leave the building for a reason. Focusing on the defense is good because I think that part I do like. You have your superstar quarterback. You have a lot. That defense is loaded with talent, but I'm a little curious because they run a tight man. They were running like a pseudo 3-4. I'm really curious how it's going to work out. But I mean, there's a lot of talent on that defense, and Herbert coming back. But the inexperience bothers me. The inexperience bothers. If I'm looking pro Chargers, as a Chiefs fan, I think that as far as the coaches are concerned, like maybe he's on par with what Denver has. But excuse me, in Fangio maybe, but Fangio's been in the NFL for a long time. So I think of all the coaches you have to rank, and I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. He's last. He's last on my list. So Gator loves. He does. I'm sorry, but I gotta share that video because it's awesome. Ragnow, Decker, and Jonah Jack. Yeah, there. Maybe I didn't make myself. When I say atom bomb, like there's going to be a ton of turnover. If you take a snapshot of the roster now and 2 years from now, you probably will have maybe 10 to 12 players on that roster is what I'm thinking. Pete, catch the rest later. I read the chat as well. Hey, man, Packers Mahomes. So you got Green Bay and Kansas City. Yes. No, Detroit is not Rachel. I first time. Mike has been saying Bills and Bucks since September. You've been saying this since September. That is genius. You didn't waver. You didn't choose a different team in a couple weeks. You've been saying this steady. I want to say definitely since week 6 when Tampa Bay blew out Green Bay 38-10. I'll tell you right now, I don't expect that. But I will say this. I'm going to get through all the comments, but I actually do like Tampa Bay. It's really funny because somebody put it on social media who has the best defense, and everybody was answering Green Bay. I don't see it. Tampa Bay's easily got the best defense. Out of the 4 remaining teams, in my opinion, they easily got the best defense. Their secondary is weak. You can exploit the secondary. But that front 7, you can't run on them. They got pass rushers. Devin White looks like a future Hall of Famer. Levante David is I know last year he was a number of all the top 100. I'm going to say he was 100 or 99. He's a Pro Bowl linebacker in his own right. Devin White looks like a future superstar. And then you got Sue. Vita Veda is coming back. How he's going to do is an interesting story. I don't have the weather report, but I think it's going to be great. Okay, it's supposed to snow, but it's supposed to be light snow, and it's supposed to be about 30. That's basically a heat wave in freaking Green Bay. So even though I was going to try to do this a little more organized, I'm just here. I just want to talk football. I think Tampa Bay is going to win. I'm with you on Tampa Bay. I'm against you on Buffalo. I do think so. My Super Bowl prediction is Chiefs and Bucks. That's who I got. And Mike's been calling Bills and Bucks since September, and it's hard to go against you, Mike. I mean, it's really hard to go against you, but I'm thinking you're half right. So, but but you've been saying that since September, so it's awesome. So. Hey, Isaac, that's a good hire. He's a Fangio disciple. He's been compared to Sean McVay defense. I've heard the same thing, but I'm worried because he's only been a coordinator for a year. That's what kind of spooks me. That's what kind of spooks me. Gator, what's your opinion on Lions hiring camp? Dan. I had some fun. Staley, that's it. Staley is great. I thought you guys would go after Dable. I thought they would too. That's kind of interesting. Gator, we all know how much you love that team. You just adore the Chiefs. So I'm there. You should be. The answer is I'm nervous and excited for Detroit's offseason. The answer is yes, you should be, because you have a guy who's not a big name, has a little bit of experience, but he also is not a coordinator, and it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare for somebody not to be a coordinator. But John Harbaugh, Baltimore, he was a special teams coordinator, and I think he was like a defensive assistant for Andy Reid, but he wasn't an offensive or defensive coordinator. Andy Reid was never an offensive coordinator. A lot of people think that he was. No, he was tight ends coach, and then he was quarterbacks coach, and he was brought in to the Philly interview, but he was like an afterthought. He was just a guy they were going to interview, and Andy Reid just blew everybody away in the interview process. And I think he was successful in Philly. He didn't win a Super Bowl, but I mean, he turned around that franchise. So it's kind of rare for that to happen. But here's a guy who's got head coaching experience, and he's also got Aaron Glenn's never been defensive coordinator either, but a lot of people are very, very high on Aaron Glenn. And if I'm correct, and I might be wrong, if both these guys are coming from the Saints, one of the best organizations in the National Football League. And that's another thing is, another name forget, but the defensive coordinator for the Saints, he was the former Raiders head coach, former Broncos defensive coordinator. I can't believe I can't remember his name. He had an interview. He only had one interview, but here's a guy that I thought would be a candidate. He's not yet, but poaching from the Saints is a good move. The GM for Atlanta was actually gone from the Saints, so there's a lot of actually, it's kind of the Saints. This could be a weird off season for the Saints. They could lose Breeze. They could lose a bunch of players. I think they're like $90 million over the cap too. So. I started with Bills going into this, and I'm still in it. I will stay strong to whoever makes it in against them, be it Tampa or the Packers, will beat them. Well, you did say Bills. I did put action on Kansas City already. I actually have my hard-earned money on Kansas City. Not a big bet because I lost so much the week before. I got my ass kicked. Made a bunch of prop bets. None of them hit. It was crazy bad, but I do got the Chiefs. So far, that's the only one. I'm going to wait to see what the weather's like in Lambeau. Here in Kansas City Sunday, there's a 50% chance of freezing rain. If you live anywhere in the Midwest, you know how the weather can be around here. Ideally, it's going to be good, but it's a 50% chance of freezing rain. So that's kind of what if it's going to be dry, then I might put some action on Mahomes over on passing. Mahomes does have a turf toe issue also. So you guys got me. I'm a closet Chiefs fan. Derek Thomas and Nigeria. The Nigerian Nightmare was fun. The Nigerian Nightmare. Matter of fact, there was a thing, and I probably should have sent this to you, but you already know. But when I say it, what people thought, but NFL's greatest hit or tackle. And almost everybody had Atwater and the Nigerian Nightmare. You know what? They're actually friends. I don't know if you knew that. Atwater and Christian Okoye are actually friends. They became friends after they played. Pretty cool. Yeah. So, you know what? Alex was posting pics on Twitter. Rock is like, oh my god. Alex may take a swing at you, man. He told me. Thank you for coming out to dinner. Oh my God. Oh man, you guys are great. I can't tell you how much I was looking forward to doing this today, man. Just coming out, talking football. I didn't really have anything really lined up. I was going to tell you guys, I did take Kansas City. Now I took Kansas City in 3 Wednesday because I knew once Mahomes cleared, it would jump up 3.5, which it is now. The remaining balance I have on my bookie will go to a prop bet. I'm just not sure which one I'm going to take yet. I'm going to get the final and the weather report, and then if it stays dry, I might put on Watkins receiving yards. I'll wait and see. But I thought I had action on Le'Veon Bell over 57 rushing yards. He barely played. Le'Veon Bell, I want to say it was 9 receiving yards. Like I say, barely played. Nick Chubb over 2.5 receptions. He dropped 3 passes. He caught 2. So, I mean, that's a smart bet. I took over on Brady's passing yards. He actually played pretty badly, but that defense is awesome. That Tampa Bay defense is awesome. So, God, I can't think of what other prop bet. Oh, I put tiny prop bets on. They're plus money, so if either one of them hit, I profit on Chris Jones and Frank Clark getting a sack. Neither one of them did. Javarius Sneed, our rookie corner, got a sack. And then I had a 2-way parlay. Kansas City hit, and then of course I needed the Saints to. I had the Saints +3, so if they would have just kept it close, but yeah. It was a bad betting weekend last weekend, but this weekend I got Kansas City -3, so yeah. Flores didn't call plays, neither did Vrabel. And I don't think, you know what, it's overrated, but Eric Bieniemy does call plays in Kansas City. Now, does he call all the plays? The way the way they describe it is that, here's the way I understand it. Eric Bieniemy calls the plays. Andy Reid has veto power. But both of them kind of get together and go over everything. But calling plays may be a little overrated because the coordinators actually come up with the game plans. And the good coordinators will have the ability to say, hey, look, this is going to work. And usually a good head coach will say, you know what, hey, look, you're in charge. So go for it. So Henderson and Marcus Williams, those would be, you know what, those are players that may be available. Demario Davis is an absolute stud. And you need different linebackers if you're going to play a 4-3, but I don't know if you guys can get Demario Davis. I really don't. But yeah, they're like 90 million negative for the 2021 season. So I could see this kind of be the end of an era in New Orleans. You could go a variety of different ways, but I think that you're going to see a massive fire sale in maybe 1 or 2 years with them not playing so well. I'm still not 100% sold that Breeze is going to retire. Apparently, he had some other injuries that he wasn't telling anybody back. Remember, it was like a punctured lung and like 11 broke ribs, and he came back 4 weeks later. I don't know, but there is going to be a lot of movement with the Saints. Their number 2 or number 3 guy, I want to say director of scouting or something like that. He left to take the general manager job with Atlanta. You lose Dan Campbell. You lose Aaron Glenn. Is it Dennis Scott? The defensive coordinator was getting interview offers. So, but yeah, I think that Saints are going to have a major fire sale. And I do think several Saints players will go to Detroit, and that will be a good thing. Gator, if I'm ever seen with any down this jersey, someone must be shooting me outside. That's a good one, man. That is a good one. So who had the best coaching hire? Okay, I'll give you the politically correct answer first, and then I'll give you my opinion. I think you're just asking my opinion, but ultimately you don't know. You don't know till it happens. Like I said several times, I was very much against Saleh going to Detroit. A lot of people may see similarities between Dan Campbell and Saleh. I don't. I think Saleh going to the Jets has a much better chance of being successful. And when I talk about the draft and I start breaking down the teams, I'll go into more detail on it. But if you had to say who had the best coaching hire, you're like I said, you're not really going to know till a couple years down the line. But in my opinion, I think it's Jacksonville. And I understand Urban Meyer's never been an NFL coach, but out of all the people that are taking new head coaching hires, I would say the guy who's got the most football knowledge would be Urban Meyer. you also have, depending on how well you see Trevor Lawrence, not Ryan Tannehill, you have a franchise quarterback. Not only that, there's a ton of young talent on Jacksonville, and I think young talent could be molded by a guy who's got a lot of experience coaching football. There's a lot of people that loved Urban Meyer. There is some questions about his health. He's never stayed anywhere for a long time, so I think that it wouldn't surprise me if Urban Meyer is gone between 3 to 5 years, but it also wouldn't surprise me if Jacksonville goes at least 8-8. Out of all the head coaches hired, I kind of expect Urban Meyer to be the most successful right away. There's a lot of talent on this team. So even though he's never been an NFL head coach, I think it's Urban Meyer going to Jacksonville. That's just my opinion, because I think that he'll have player control. He's working with Trent Baalke. They probably got something where he's got player control. Trent Baalke is an excellent hire as general manager. It's another thing I was going to talk about next week. This week's just been a shit show. Next week, I hopefully be able to put together who's been hired where, who's moving around. Alex is going to hate this, but Dan Quinn going to Dallas, I thought was a really good move. But the Raiders hiring the Chargers defensive coordinator, I'm drawing a blank. That's also a good move. But who had the best head coaching hire, in my opinion? I think Urban Meyer going to Jacksonville is the best one. And I don't think he's going to be there for a long time. I'd say he'll be there between 3 and 5 years. But I think that he'll take Jacksonville to the playoffs at least once. That franchise is going to be turned around quickly. I think there'll be a 7-9, 8-8 team right away. And if Trevor Lawrence can adapt to the system and play at a high level, they could even make the wild card. And they also have a lot of draft capital too. So that's keep in mind. I think he's also in the right position. All right. I thought when Adam Gase took over for the Jets, if he got Sam Darnold playing at a really high level right away, then it was a good fit. But if he couldn't, they didn't really have much else. Then it seemed like the general manager signed Le'Veon Bell, and I can't remember the inside linebacker that they signed from Baltimore. Then they switched to a 4-3 defense with Craig Williams, COVID and everything. But there's a lot of other outside factors. So. There are two truths in this world: we will all die, and all Dallas fans. I've known so many Cowboys fans, and they are a different breed. I will tell you this, Alex. I always ask that people be respectful when they come out. In this chat and everything. However, if we do get some Cowboys fans in here, I'm gonna let you have a little bit of rope here. So yeah. What's the difference between Saleh and Campbell? Okay, this is a great question. Saleh is coaching a system. All right, he's coaching the wide 9, cover 3, Tampa 2, whatever you want to call it, type of defense. That's what they're going to implement. That's what's going to happen. You already know how to defend it. You already know what's going to happen. Okay, there's no surprise. There's no secret. And it's predicated on having a very solid front four. Okay, go back to this defense was actually originated in the 70s with the Steel Curtain. They ran pretty much the same style of defense. You have to have a Hall of Fame caliber defensive lineman. The only exception you could say is Seattle, because there's Michael Bennett, a Hall of Famer. I think he is, but it's not a guaranteed lock. But in Tampa, you had Warren Sapp. In Indianapolis, you had, I think Robert Mathis made the Hall of Fame, but you had Dwight Freeney. He's a Hall of Famer. Bottom line, you already know how to defend that team. All right. Campbell is coming in. And if you looked at the Saints, and that's kind of what I'm basing everything off of, because he's coming from the Saints. Aaron Glenn, if I'm right, was the defensive back coach for the Saints. I could be wrong about that, but I believe he's coming from the Saints too. Here's the difference. The Saints had Drew Brees, so they threw the ball a lot. When they didn't have Drew Brees, they ran the ball a lot. They basically played to their strengths. That's not something Saleh does. Saleh has a system. You have to bring players to adapt to that system. That could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. When you had the right players in that scheme, it works. But you need Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner are freaks of nature. Okay? You have Quentin Williams, who everybody thought was going to be the number one player in the draft. Everybody thought Quentin Williams was going to be the number one player. A lot of people thought he was the number one player. And he started really to come on towards the end of the season. So Quentin Williams fits that defense. The difference is that with Saleh, you have a system, you have a style, you already know what you're getting. With Campbell, you really don't. Are they going to have a Lions team that's going to throw the ball 60 times a game? Are they going to run the ball 60 times a game? You could see both. Take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, they're a passing team. But when the Chiefs beat Buffalo earlier in the season, the Chiefs ran for 250 yards. That's what you're getting out of Campbell. You're getting somebody who could do this, he could do that. So that it was Saleh, you know what you're getting. You're getting that wide nine defense. If you have a good offensive mind, you already know how to attack this defense. When you play against Detroit, especially that first week, you have no idea what you're going to look at. My guess is you're going to look at something like the Saints. Now, the Saints, Dennis Allen, that's the name I was trying to remember. They flip-flop back and forth for a long time. Remember, they brought in Rob Ryan. They tried running the 3-4. It didn't work out, so they brought in Dennis Allen. They switched to a 4-3. But basically, they ran what worked. They switched things around, and that's what you're going to get with Saleh. You have with Campbell, you have a flexible coach who's going to do a variety of different things, but he's basically going to put players in the best position to succeed. With Saleh, you have something that's very inflexible. If you had players for a 3-4 defense, but you're running Saleh's defense, you have to destroy it. So basically, in just one word, flexibility. With Campbell, you have flexibility. Saleh, you don't. And being they hired a 49ers run game coordinator, you're basically going to have a East Coast version of the San Francisco 49ers. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know. But I do know this. They've had 4 seasons in San Francisco. Only once did they win. The other 3 were losing seasons. So Campbell is more flexible. At least that's my impression. Keep in mind, he's never been a head coach. Neither one of these guys has been a head coach before, so I'm going with what I'm looking at from where they're coming from. The Saints have a variable scheme. Saleh and the 49ers do not. So the thing with Cowboys fans, if you ask, are you a fan, and you say no, then you're there is a lot of that. There is a lot. I used to work my old job. There was so many Cowboys fans, and to be honest, one of them, he was an older guy. My immediate boss was a Cowboys fan. He was completely delusional. He's like, Emmitt Smith, greatest running back of all time, most yards, and that was his argument. I'm like, what about that offensive line? Most yards. He was kind of a douchebag. Yeah. So. I don't have, and by the way, neither one, well, actually the one dude, me and him are actually pretty tight. He got fired or he quit. Long story. He left before I started my YouTube channel, but the other one who was my boss, I asked him to join my YouTube channel, and he was in my fantasy football league. He said no because I trashed the Cowboys. I didn't trash the Cowboys when Dak took over and he went 12-4, I said, well, you won 4 games one year, 12 games the next year, you're going to go down. And that's logical. No, you trashed my Cowboys. Well, no, you're a bitch. And he went 9-7, so I was right. So anyway. But yeah, Cowboys fans are welcome here. But yeah, they're notorious for being douchebags. So Campbell being a mystery is a good thing. Yes. Okay. I'm a firm believer that if you run a system or style, that's usually a bad thing. There are exceptions. Okay. What they're going to do in Vegas is they're going to run a Tampa 2 type of defense because they got the coordinator from the Chargers who ran a cover 3. The cover 3 in the Tampa 2 is very, very, very similar. All right. Now, remember they got the former Detroit Lions head coach, the guy that I know you don't like, the 0-16 coach. He was in Dallas where he ran the Tampa 2 in Dallas. He took over as interim defensive coordinator. I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. All right, so you have him, the new coordinator, and Gruden all work together running the Tampa 2 defense in Tampa Bay. And because that Y9 defense, that cover 3 defense has had success against the Chiefs, I like that move. But as a general rule of thumb, I don't like a team that says, hey, we're going to run our system no matter what. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of a coach who says, hey, even though my quarterback's not a good passer, we're going to throw the ball 60 times a game. So that's why I think having it's a mystery, and plus he's not bound to something. Let's say for example, you keep Stafford. Okay, let's just say you keep Stafford. And Campbell says, you know what, the best chance we got to win is if Stafford throws the ball 50, 60 times a game. Well, then that's what you're going to do. But let's say you get rid of Stafford. Well, hey, our best chances, I got Adrian Peterson, I got DeAndre Swift. We're going to run the ball 40, 50 times a game. That's what I like. Fun fact, I have a Mahomes jersey. Dude, he's a fun player, man. Great quarterback. Ideally wins 2 Super Bowls. I think he's a Michael Jordan, but I mean, I'm a Chiefs fan, so I'm a little biased. What about Fantasy Football League from everyone in this chat? I am retired from fantasy football myself, but I will help set everything together. And if you want, like, I can be a commissioner or work. I'd be more than willing to help out. I don't do fantasy football. I do prop betting. And by the way, Denver Gator, if you need any help with your fantasy football, I helped a buddy of mine win $500 in his fantasy football league. Now, keep in mind, a large part of him winning that was he made a brilliant trade, I want to say week 3 or 4 for Dalvin Cook. He got rid of like 2 backup players for Dalvin Cook. So it was a great trade. But I helped him. I was at his draft, and I helped him and his buddy. His buddy was a computer neophyte. I'm not a computer expert, but I basically got him set up, and I worked him to help him out. But if you need any help with fantasy football, please hit me up. I will do everything I can to help you win your fantasy football league. If you do want to set one up, I will not participate, but I'll help in any way I can. So let me know. Me and Luke agree on a lot of things, man. One of these things that Luke years ago agreed to come on my show as a guest. My show's a lot different than his, but I may have to take him up on that. We still communicate, but we haven't talked in a while. But I have a lot of respect for Luke G, and I can't wait to bounce some draft stuff off his head. The Texans are dysfunctional, and our basketball team is kind of in a reset. At least we have baseball. Hey, I'm going to tell you something, man. Wait till you get your head coach, because I think that you're in a lot better shape as a football team than you may think. So I expect to get more athletic freak shows, and you need that in today's NFL. Well, it's actually funny in this draft. There is a couple athletic freak shows, but there's not many. It's going to be an interesting draft, and I hope you guys like draft content because I think I'm going to start like maybe the week after the Super Bowl. But I'm going to do a lot of draft. I'm leaning towards right now. I'm not 100%. I think I'm going to just start off with number 2. I'm the second pick in the draft, and then just kind of go from there. And I think I'm going to do videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that's kind of my first thought, but we'll see here. Which coaches are getting fired next year? Okay, great question. Number 1 is which coaches are in hot seat. Give me coaches that are in hot seat. Matt Nagy from Chicago, even though they went to the playoffs, they're 8-8. That would be a guy that I would say is on hot seat. I think the Bears have to make the playoffs, and I think they have to win a bare minimum of 9 games. 8-8, I think will get them fired. 9-7, even if they don't make the playoffs, if they draft a rookie quarterback and they want to go in that route. But I think they'll end up with a veteran quarterback, and then if they go with Trubisky, I'm sorry. If they go with Trubisky, then he will be held responsible for Trubisky. If Trubisky's the quarterback, then you have to ride with him. He's got to be really good. So Matt Nagy would be the first one, just right off the top of my head. Let's see here. Matt Nagy's the first one I'm thinking of. There was some talk about Mike Zimmer getting the axe. I think that's a big mistake, but if the Vikings are 6-10 next year, because they had a bunch of young players this year, but if the Vikings go 6-10, I hate my neighbors. The Vikings go 6-10, then Zimmer would be one who would get the axe. Keep in mind, I actually thought Kyle Shanahan might be a guy who gets fired this year, but apparently with all the injuries and everything, he's held in high esteem. If they get a new quarterback, and it doesn't work out, then Kyle Shanahan would be a name that I would think would be. Keep in mind, he's been there. This will be year 5, and he's only had 1 winning season, so that's another thing. Music City guy, what's his name in Dallas? Yes, he's on the hot seat, but I think Dallas will be a significantly better team this year than last year. I'm trying to think of anybody else, but I don't expect Shanahan to get fired. But Shanahan's a possibility. But the number 1 guy that I'm saying right now would be Matt Nagy, because he's got to get to the playoffs. And you lose your defensive coordinator, and this is a big loss. I mean, that the Fangio and Pagano are 2 of the most well-respected coaches in the league. Bengals coach will be fired. That's a good one too. He's got to do well, but keep in mind they're gonna add a lot of players in Cincinnati via the draft and free agency. So are we going to have an overload of State Farm commercials if KC and Green Bay go to the Super Bowl? What's over on 35? It's going to be a lot. I actually like them. I think they're pretty funny, but yeah, it's going to be a lot. 35 is a good bet. If it did happen, I wonder how much money State Farm would spend on Super Bowl commercials with Mahomes and Rodgers. I wonder how much money they would spend. They might actually have to borrow money just to pay off the NFL for all that ad space. I actually don't think so, to tell you the truth. I think Dan Quinn's really going to help out that defense. And here's what I said. 2020 is going to be bad. 2021 is not. I think Dallas will really turn it around. I sincerely think that. Denver Gator, let's go. Almost draft time on the draft. That's awesome. I will be awesome to hear from this chat about players who are looking and hope for so many different fan perspectives, not national media. Exactly. And I want to hear from you guys when I release my videos. And I also have no problem. Just I have no problem people saying, "Hey Dan, you're way off here. You got to look at A, B, and C. You're looking at X, Y, and Z." Matter of fact, that happened last year or 2 years ago, where a guy's like, "Hey Dan, no, look at this instead." And I said, "You know what? I think you're right," and I ended up changing one of my draft picks. So the Bengals coach will be fired. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. He's got to win this year. I think he's got to be at least 8-8. But one thing about the Bengals is they've been surprisingly patient. But I think the Bengals, I really want to see what they do in free agency and the draft first, because they're going to change a lot of things. The only thing I will say, if Burrow's not ready, then he may get a pass until Burrow is healthy. Like if they start off 0-4 and then Burrow comes back and they finish 6-10, then I'll let that go. Denver Gator says, go ahead and say it. Okay. Since you're bringing in a new general manager, normally when you bring in a new GM, the coach is under fire, especially when he hasn't won. But because Fangio was involved in the process and because Kubiak was involved in the process, I don't think Fangio, and if they finish 5-11, I didn't even talk about it, but what's going on with Von Miller? And I'll try to get some more information, but bottom line, there's a lot of things that has to happen. I'm sorry. There's a lot of information that needs to be found out about Von Miller. That's the direction I was going to. My mind just went all over the place. But Denver's a team with Von Miller if he comes back, Cortland Sutton, and I also am very high on Drew Lock. The offense, I think, needs to change a little bit, but the defense plays good, which I do expect. I also want to see what they do in the draft. They pick 9th. They should get a starter. They could get a guy I'm very high on is Patrick Surtain. If they went ahead and get Surtain, that would be a big plus. So Fangio, I don't think is on the hot seat. I really don't. But here's the thing: I'm expecting Denver to be a 9, 10, maybe even 11 win team. If they're a 7 or below, then yeah. But I actually think Fangio will turn around. Maddox Johnson, hello, welcome. I don't recognize you, so welcome. By the way, I'm just on StreamYard. I have no idea what's going on YouTube. I only watch StreamYard. I may have 5,000 thumbs down. I have no idea, so make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you don't mind, drop a comment in the comment section. That helps me out. It helps the algorithm out. It helps the message get out to more people, because I think it's good when we get other people involved in the chat. That's just my opinion. Keep in mind, I can rant on for football for hours and hours and hours, but you guys actually bring more to the show than I do. So if you don't mind, do those things, but definitely give me a thumbs up. Like I said, I'm not even watching. I may have 5,000 thumbs down. I have no clue. I wonder if the Old Spice will take an ad since they've been pushing their ad spending recently. I did not know that. I kind of thought it was cool they had the Montez Sweat, and then he got it. I thought it was kind of funny, but yeah, if it ends up being Green Bay and Kansas City, expect a ton of those State Farm commercials, which so far I've liked. They are, but one thing about Mike Brown is that he's been surprisingly patient with his head coaches, unlike the Cleveland Browns, who was rotating them in and out for a while, almost every year. Marvin Lewis is there for 17 years. There's a lot of stability in that organization, but yes, they've been notoriously cheap. I think the Bengals need to break down that coaching staff. I think that's what they did was under Marvin Lewis, they had one of the oldest coaching staffs, and if not the oldest coaching staff in the National Football League. So they decided to go just the opposite. Now, what he did was Zach Taylor put together a whole coaching staff of young, ambitious coaches. All of them were either new to their position or had 1 or 2 years experience in their position. The offensive and defensive coordinators never been coordinators before. I remember the tight ends coach was a guy who literally just retired as a tight end. And I remember thinking to myself, this is either going to be great or it's going to suck. And it sucked. So they end up firing some guys, bringing in some guys with a little more experience. But if the Bengals end up not winning this year, I think that they'll go in the opposite direction and hire an experienced head coach. And I depending on how you feel about Joe Burrow, that could be an appealing job. I said this, I know you joined too late, but when I was doing the draft, I said that if I was the Bengals, I would sign Teddy Bridgewater. I would draft Chase Young. But anyway, that's me. But the Bengals, keep in mind, because they pick 5th overall, they're going to get a good player. They could also be interesting in free agency. Joe Mixon is as good as any running back in the National Football League. And if Burrow can start and play from week 1, they could be dangerous. I don't know if they're a playoff team. AJ Green does not want to be there. So they got to move on from AJ Green. There's going to be a lot of interesting things with what's going on with the Bengals. But yeah, if they don't win, they're going to. You know what? It just hit me. If the Bengals do move on, a guy I could see going there would be one of your favorite coaches, Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien could be with the Bengals in 2022. Patton hiring GM was a game changer. Vaughn deal is a lot of spec. Yeah, I was hesitant because you remember the Tyreek Hill situation. A reporter reported the story before she had all the facts. That reporter got death threats for doing her job, but technically she didn't do it. But anyway, that situation got out of control. So I'm hesitant to say anything. I'm a Chiefs fan. Von Miller is one of my favorite players. Von Miller is a surefire, unless he raped some little boy, he's going into the Hall of Fame. So, yeah. But I'm looking at Alex's comments. It's pretty funny. But bottom line, I'm gonna try to find out. Hopefully next week we have something positive to say because I'm a big Von Miller fan. I want him to come back. I like the fact that we've beaten the shit out of the Denver Broncos the last couple of years, but I want to continue doing that. But at the same time, the Broncos have always had a good organization, and a guy like Von Miller does deserve to play on a good team the last couple of years he's in the National Football League. So I have no idea who that is, so we don't know. Man, hopefully he comes back and he's in, and he can kind of give us a heads up. The Mike Brown's always been notorious. He's the owner. He doesn't want to pay for a GM. They do a lot of weird things. Okay. Mike asked a great question. Was Kansas City going to be 3-point favorites with Henny? The answer is no. But what Vegas did was something that normally doesn't happen, and they went ahead and put the line up with Mahomes questionable. But a lot of people are saying that Mahomes was going to play no matter what. Bottom line, now that Mahomes is definitely playing on my bookie, it's 3.5. When he did a full practice and he was a full participant, I locked in 3 at -105. It was even money. For those of you that aren't familiar with sports betting, bets come out at -110, which means that you have to wager $110 to win 100. I was able to get 105, so I wagered less, but it was a small wager that I made, but basically I almost got even money. And the reason why is that it was at 3, but now it's 3.5. if Henne was going to start, Buffalo would be favored. But I put Kansas. I made sure I got 3. I'm not taking 3.5. I might put action on Tampa Bay at 3.5, but I'm told it's going to drop to 3. So yes, the Dolphins. The Dolphins are also a notorious cheap franchise. I remember the Orange Bowl turf was I think it was funny because it wasn't as bad as the Vet, but I remember players hated it. But yeah, and the reason why they put it there was a cost-cutting move. But yeah, Dolphins have been famous for also being a cheap franchise. Putting your favorite. I'm sorry, but honestly, if the Bengals move on, Bill O'Brien would probably, especially if Alabama wins another national championship. So yeah. I think the Dolphins could make huge moves down a few, get all the Tua guys, Smith, Waddle, Harris, later. They could. I've been telling people. I keep seeing Powell or Poole or the Oregon left tackle going to Miami. Well, Miami drafted Austin Jackson last year at 18. The Jets drafted Mekhi Becton, and he was probably your best player. So you're not going to draft. So the Jets aren't going to draft the left tackle. Jonah Williams is a guy that Bengals really like as the starting left tackle. So that's a guy I think it's going to free fall. But I wouldn't be surprised. I am so embarrassed. Jamal, is it Jamal? Chase, let's just say, I know Chase, the LSU wide receiver. There's a lot of people think he would be a perfect fit. And then at 18, you could pick up another wide receiver. But I think that it's very safe to say a Bama guy will end up wearing some Dolphins colors. So yeah. One Pride 40. Okay. What I heard was he was involved in a police investigation. And then everything's been kind of hush hush, which is the right thing to do. But in today's age, is a different story. So, Denver Gators talk of trading Tua. There's been talk of Tua, but I'm not down there. I'm in Kansas City, of course, but I think that Tua will stay in Miami. Keep in mind, no OTAs, no off season. He was injured, so I think Tua is safe. But yeah, there has been talk. Bengals should hire Alex. I think you guys are going to hire Caldwell. I think he did interview, and I don't think that would be a good fit because he wants to run that Tampa 2 defense, which again would be a complete atom bomb. And I don't know how he would work with Watson because he really, really wants to run an offense very similar to what he ran in Indianapolis, which requires Indianapolis and Peyton Manning, which is a pocket passing, kind of an archaic offense in this day and age. I know he's a candidate, but I would not. I think Caldwell to Houston would be a bad move. Jamar Chase, yeah. It would not surprise me if he goes third. It really wouldn't surprise me if he goes third overall and under Miami. But I also could see Miami getting a Bama guy. There's going to be a lot of different things. The Vaughn issue is a text to his pregnant ex-girlfriend wishing she had a miscarriage. Holy shit. But she publicly saying it's blown out of context. Maybe. Okay, I did not know that. Leatherwood was his right tackle as a left-handed quarterback. Okay. Yeah, and then what they did is I can't think of the guy's name, but he was supposed. I thought he was going to play guard, but he ended up playing right tackle. He's a rookie out of Louisiana Monroe, and apparently they fell in love with the guy. And I think he's a starting right tackle. Austin Jackson will be a starting left tackle. Leatherwood might be a good move, moving back inside. I could see that. But people are saying Sal, whatever, from Oregon is going to Miami at 3. I keep seeing them everywhere to the Jets, Miami, and Cincinnati, and I'm like, yeah, I don't see it. Actually, Daniel Jeremiah released a mock draft where he has the Northwestern left tackle going to Cincinnati at number 5. Daniel Jeremiah has the Northwestern kid, I don't know the guy's name, above Sewell. And I think that I'll let you know, spoiler alert, Sewell is a guy I think is going to free fall. Number one, I keep seeing he's 6'3". That's not an ideal height for a left tackle. He's also on the ground constantly, which is not a good thing. There's also really good athleticism. But when I look at the guy, I'm thinking this is a guard. This is a guy who may be a Pro Bowl guard. Because we don't have a combine, we're not going to see what he does. He may not even do anything for the pro day. He may say, hey, I'm going top 10. But I think that when I hear what I said, top 10, but people think he's going top 5, I think he's a guy who free falls. He may be a guy that drops all the way in New England. Just saying. That's Jamar Chase. That was the name I was trying to think of. Houston, yeah, don't worry, though. Don't wait till they get a coach, and I think you'll be surprised. I'll be rooting for the guy, though. If it's Caldwell, I would love if Caldwell as an offensive coordinator, but as a head coach, no. As much as I miss Corey Davis, I think he's as good as gone to Lions. I do too. I think the Bears would be the perfect fit because I think Allen Robinson's going to move on, and then Corey Davis just slides right in. And Corey Davis is a guy who could be really good. Galladay, if he's gone, I could see Corey Davis. Chiefs, there's a lot of Chiefs fans that think Corey Davis. I don't think Corey Davis fits in. I don't think he has the speed because Sammy Watkins, DeMarcus Robinson are probably both going to be gone. So there's a possibility. There's a possibility. I liked Corey Davis. I hated him at 5. I thought that was a massive mistake because if you remember, he had a foot injury, couldn't work out at the combine, didn't work out at the pro day, played in a small conference, and I was thinking he may be a guy who's just a guy. But I do like Corey Davis. I think if he's your number 2 guy, you're in decent shape. But he never panned out to be a number 1 guy. I never thought he would be. So. Lions, please. Yeah, I look forward to the draft. I think the draft is extremely important. Not everybody feels the same way, but I do. The NFL draft is extremely, extremely important. I always felt that the better you do in the draft, the better your team is. It's going to be very, very difficult. And because of this, some teams are going to want to trade a bunch of players, and there's going to be other teams that are going to want to get a bunch of draft picks. It's going to be very, very volatile, and that's kind of why I want to start doing my draft videos early because I'm going to have to do a retraction. I'm expecting to do several retraction videos because, for example, let's just say Carolina, I have them taking quarterback with the 4th pick. Well, if they sign a free agent quarterback, I have to do a retraction for Carolina, and then I have to do another retraction saying, well, since Carolina is doing this team's going to do this, and so on and so forth. So hopefully you guys all enjoy the videos, and don't, give me some feedback. Let me know what I need to improve on, don't improve on. I haven't messed with the video editing software in a while, so there'll be some updates. I have to work on the sound. If I'm lucky, I might do a test. I've been meaning to do a new intro to my YouTube channel for quite some time. I just haven't had the chance. I meant to do it this week. I didn't get to it. But I need to do a lot of things. But I think I'm going to start with the draft videos either 1 week or 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. And then I'll do a live stream the Wednesday before the draft. So is it worth the excess? Their offense will be much. I'll tell you what, I was really surprised Texas Apparently, it was a foregone conclusion that they were going to fire the current coach, which I thought was a bad move because he didn't really. Here's actually the guy, and I can't think of the guy's name who's the Texas head coach. I know he came from Houston, did a great job with Houston, left Houston, went to Texas, and he was doing a good job recruiting. It's just that Texas wants to be a top 10 team every year. They want to be like what Alabama is. They want to be back where they were, competing for a national championship. And they have resources like nobody else. I mean, they really do. But for whatever reason, Texas, they were recruiting good classes. Like I think they're recruiting top 15, top 20 classes, but they wanted to recruit number one classes. And for some reason or another, they weren't able to do it. So they think that, hey, let's go after Alabama. I'll be honest with you. I don't think this is going to work. I think Sarkisian as an offensive mind is great, but I think at Texas, I think the expectations are going to be too high. And I can't remember the guy who he's replacing. I don't think that as far as X's and O's, Sarkisian is going to be better. This guy was a pretty good recruiter. Players, for the most part, really liked him. I really don't think it's going to work out. That's just my opinion because I think Oklahoma's loaded with talent. And I think Oklahoma will continue to beat Texas. And ultimately, if you get beat early in the season in the Big 12, you don't have a chance for a national championship. And that's what Texas wants, and they're not going to get it. I don't think this will work, to be honest with you. But it'll be interesting to watch. It will be interesting to watch. I think so. That's why I want to talk about it a lot. Could you say I don't think he'll get a head coaching job. I'll be honest. I don't think he'll get a head coaching job, but it would not surprise me one bit. I was not aware until today that he went back to New England, but it wouldn't surprise me. So he was a defensive coordinator elsewhere. But yeah, I think it's going to be wild. Going to have some talented guys missed in the draft as free agents. That's another thing. You're going to have so many things that are you're going to have teams that have opinions all over the place. That's why I'm going to start with the Jets at 2 because that's basically where the draft really starts. There's going to be so many things all over the place with draft. And here's the thing. Okay, Saleh, who's trying to build the Jets like the East Coast 49ers, I could see them trading draft picks for players. Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, who's worked with I forget the name of the show, but he's worked with college football. I could see him wanting draft picks and trying to get as many draft picks as possible. Matt Rule, the coach at Carolina, I could see him trying to trade for draft picks because he's got a finger on college football. And that's kind of what you're going to see. I think you're going to see experienced teams try to get rid of draft picks, and I think you're going to see inexperienced teams or guys that have college-type head coaches, Rule, Urban Meyer, maybe some of these younger head coaches just say, hey, look, you know what, let's just get a bunch of draft picks because they're going to be cheap. So I think there's going to be a lot of movement this year. So it'll be really interesting. But, and there's going to be some – from what I've gathered so far, it's not a great draft. There's some really good players. It's not great all over the place. But we'll talk about it. I haven't done a ton of stuff yet, but I do have kind of a mock draft in my head already. And I've looked at enough mock drafts that I'm able to say, hey, this is a good mock draft. This is a bad one. So, oh, God. Oh, no, I have to admit, still going, actually, that's not a bad move, but I would be. A&M is the only team able to win big next year. At least our high school football is. Oh, your high school football is amazing. I would love to go to a Texas high school game. I would. That's actually on my bucket list. I would rather watch Texas high school football in college. So, But yeah, I would love that. And Texas A&M's loaded. They're loaded. They should be a top 10 team. I'm gonna say 10. I think they should have gone in above Notre Dame. But that's another thing. Start an NFL team, put them in London, hire Bib, Gase, and Patricia. Oh God, that team would go 0-16. Will Campbell won. That's what's entertaining. Like, it would not surprise me if they trade out of the first round, they trade up. I mean, anything could happen. Take a look at the Saints. The Saints kept on trading up and trading up. They traded for players. They did a lot. Now, keep in mind, the Saints were ready to win. They were a team that was a playoff team trying to get to a Super Bowl. So with Campbell, I have no idea, and you don't either. You never know. You really never know. But that's the thing, is that there will be movement. I don't think they'll stay still at all. There'll be movement, and that's what's going to be entertaining. I expect trades. I expect players to be traded from Detroit. I expect draft picks to be moved around all over the place. And bottom line, nobody knows. Nobody knows. I think it's possible to get Patricia. There is a difference. First of all, Adam Gase really didn't. I remember I was surprised Gase got fired because he went 7-9, 9-7, made the playoffs with the backup quarterback, then went 7-9. And there was some injury issues. And I remember thinking that Miami made a mistake. And then when they went ahead and hired Brian Flores, finally remembered his name, they were just going to blow that team up because they were sick of being 500. But they made the playoffs with Adam Gase. Patricia just had a disconnect. The thing is with Adam Gase is that he probably won't get another NFL head coaching job. Could he go to college? Maybe. But more than likely, he'll probably go as an offensive coordinator. It floored me that he got an interview from Philly. It floored me. Bob must also be the GM while being Bob. You know, when you said that, I was thinking Gase was. But, yeah, okay. Gase is the offensive coordinator and co-head coach. Bob is GM, and that team would be awesome. Texas, oh yeah. California's in there too. California has some really good high school football. California, actually Ohio, Pennsylvania. I was told New York and Michigan do, but I've never heard of like recruits coming out of either Michigan or but Georgia's in that. Georgia and Florida. Texas is number one, without a doubt. That Georgia, Florida is close to number two. I would actually say California. California has a lot of really good high school football also. I thought California was two, but yeah. Florida and Georgia play a high school all-star game, and there's like all sorts of like future NFL talent in that game. So, all right, guys, we're going on an hour 50, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Man, this has been a great show. You guys have been great. I got a lot of stuff that I got to watch. Next week, what we're going to do is I'm going to go over the head coaching hires. Not just the head coach, but like, for example, Dan Quinn going to Dallas. I want to break down all the coaching changes, the GMs, kind of get into more detail as if something really stands out. And then the show after that probably dive directly into the Super Bowl. And of course, we talk about what you want to talk about. You have a question, I have an answer. We just talk football here. That's what we do on Friday night. We get together, we talk football. You guys absolutely are the best. Give me a thumbs up before I go. And, man, I'll see you guys all Friday.